Tat. Sorry. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portions of the Vedas. Thus, you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions we have just put to you. Purport. The difference between the Vedas and the Puranas is like that between the Brahmanas and the Parivrajakas. The Brahmanas are meant to administer some fruitive sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas, but the Parivrajaka acharyas or learned preachers are meant to disseminate transcendental knowledge to one and all. As such, the Parivrajaka acharyas are not always expert in pronouncing Vedic mantras, which are practiced systematically by accent and meter by the Brahmanas, who are meant for administering Vedic rites. Yet it should not be considered that the Brahmanas are more important than the itinerant preachers. They are one and different simultaneously because they are meant for the same end in different ways. There is no difference also between the Vedic mantras and what is explained in the Puranas and Itihas. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, it's mentioned in the Madhyandina Shruti that all the Vedas, namely the Sama, Atharva, Rig, Yajur, Puranas, Itihasas, Upanishads, etc., are emanations from the breathing of the Supreme Being. The only difference is that the Vedic mantras are mostly begun with Pranava Omkar, and it requires some training to practice the metric pronunciation of the Vedic mantras. But that does not mean that the Srimad Bhagavatam is of less importance than the Vedic mantras. On the contrary, it is the ripened fruit of all the Vedas, as stated before. Besides that, the most important liberated soul, Srila Shukadev Goswami, is absorbed in the studies of the Bhagavatam, although he is already self-realized. Srila Suta Goswami is following his footsteps, and therefore his position is not the least less important, because he was not expert in chanting Vedic mantras with metric pronunciation, which depends more on the practice than actual realization. Realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaura Vani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyadi Paschata Deshatharine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portions of the Vedas, and thus you can clearly explain the answers to all questions we have just put to you. Suta Goswami was asked questions, and now it's coming towards the end of the speech. Soon Suta Goswami will speak. From the next verse, Suta Goswami will begin to speak and answer the questions, which is Srimad Bhagavatam, basically, his answers. The purport is mentioning two types of personalities. Here it's mentioned about Brahmanas and Parivrajakas. Suta Goswami was learned in Srimad Bhagavatam and in the knowledge of the absolute truth. But he was not on the same, he could not chant the Vedic mantras like Brahmanas. Previously, maybe not so much now, but in the Gurukuls, children were taught to chant the Vedas. Every Gurukul, they'll fix one Veda, Rig Veda, whichever. They'll chant that, they learn that, and some other mantras. But they'll be able to chant all of it. And there's a way to pronounce it. There'll be particular meter. We have to select the meter. And also the Sanskrit level of Shruti is very high. It's compared to the Smriti. It's a higher level. So they'll be trained, they'll be chanting the verses exactly, and they'll be able to also, because for example, light a fire, or even for certain tasks just by chanting mantra, they could manipulate material energy. By certain mantras, there's a lot they can do. For example, light the fire. And in the sacrificial arena, if they chant the mantras properly, then all the different yagyas, we could fulfill the task that we want to. People did yagyas for getting money, for destroying their enemy, or different tasks, whatever they wanted. So that depends on the mantra. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a narration of a personality who was doing a yagya to kill his enemy. And they chanted the mantra wrongly. And then the person generated came to attack him because they chanted wrongly. So literally life and death. You have to pronounce properly. And then people were judged on that platform. Could they chant the mantras? Did they? Even now, actually, if someone has knowledge of Sanskrit, it's a great thing. It's considered very great. At the same time, however, now Suta Goswami did not have that skill. Neither did Shukadev Goswami. They could not chant like that. So here, the sages are telling Suta Goswami, we know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects, except some portions of the Vedas. So in the purport, the understanding is given that he was maybe not expert in the fruitive portions, but he had the knowledge to deliver the personalities. He had knowledge to liberate someone. He could answer that much knowledge required for one to realize the absolute truth. For example, we say Srimad Bhagavatam has complete knowledge. Bhagavad Gita has complete knowledge. Then someone may ask that how it does not have knowledge how to arrange the Yagya Kund. It's not there. But the knowledge needed is what we need now in this place and time to get liberated. So Suta Goswami had that knowledge. And now next point will come that he had that knowledge, but he doesn't have knowledge of Veda, Shruti. That is required. We need to know about the Vedas. But actually now here it's mentioned that the Shruti means what was heard. Smriti means what was remembered. Smriti comes from Smaran. Shruti comes from Shrotra, hearing. So initially what was heard are the 4 Vedas. So the 4 Vedas came, they were delivered in the beginning of creation. And Smritis, some of them came that time, some came later. Later on came Itihas, Mahabharata, and the Puranas. So one may say, and some people say that Shruti is more important. Smritis are not important because this came directly from Vishnu. But now a quote is here that Jiva Goswami was a great scholar. Once we heard from a Sri Vaishnava Pandit, he was glorifying Jiva Goswami. And he said that, but most of you don't know, you're not on the level to know what he gave. He is so amazing, the knowledge he gave. He composed a system of learning Sanskrit through names of Vishnu, which is being used even now. So according to Jiva Goswami, it's mentioned in the Madhyandina Shruti that all the Vedas, namely Sama, Atharva, Rig, Yajur, Puranas, Itihas, and Upanishads, are all emanating from Vishnu. So in the Shruti is written that Smriti is important. Some people don't take that. Once we were doing that program to install a Srimad Bhagavatam, someone bought a Bhagavatam, that was in the 5th phase. So, JP, before, when the center was there. So, we were doing the program and the house owner came to the program. This person was living on the top floor. The house owner came. He was from a group that rejected the Smriti within the Sanatana. They didn't accept Smriti. So as our devotee was speaking, Madhur Gauranga, explaining about the glories of Bhagavatam, he said, but this is Smriti. It's It's not important. Smriti. Shruti came first. This is important. And this is Smriti. We should be studying Shruti. We should be studying Vedanta, Upanishads. Now, first point is who's going to understand? I'm sure he's not reading. Who's going to read that? Where is it? It's very high level of discourse. You have to be very attuned and alert. For that, we have to be following a certain way of life, regulated, eating certain food or prasadam, and having a state of mind which would be difficult to get us that state of mind unless from birth we are brought up in this way, in a sattvic way, regulated way, eating certain food. From birth, we should have that mindset. So how will we understand that? It's very difficult. And so now the Smriti is more important now for us. Within the Smriti, even Srila Prabhupada said that the purports are more important than the verses. Verses are important, but we can't understand the verses, some of them. Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutanam Tasya Jagrati Samyam. You know that verse? What is night for the what is night for the transcendental sage is day for the materialist, and what is day for the transcendentalist is night for the materialist. Okay, now what does that mean? Yeah, you know, you read Prabhupada's books. But now someone will say that, oh, when it's night, it's day for us. It's not, it's nothing to do with night and day. This is speaking about the situation for the yogi, when the situation, certain situations are for him very nice and a time of awakening, a time of great importance, then for the materialist, it's not a good time. For example, if a leader comes in this country and says, now no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex, ban slaughterhouses, ban alcohol, compulsory tilak for everyone, and compulsory for all government servants, Mangalarti, Sandhyarti. So, we'll be very happy, but some people will be very unhappy. They'll protest, they'll be upset. But if it was not for the purport, we'll not understand the meaning of that verse. We'll not. Like that, many verses are in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. We'll not understand. So, the purport is more important. Smriti is more important. Shruti is giving knowledge, but Smriti is delivering the same knowledge in a way that we'll understand it. The Smriti portion is composed in easier language, easier to read, easier to understand. And also, Smritis can be chanted by anyone. But there's injunction, Shruti should only be chanted by Brahmanas. Dvija, second born, twice born. And all the Shruti begins with Pranava, Omkar. Verses begin with Om, we're not supposed to chant. Pranava, Omkar requires some training, and the only difference, Vedic mantras mostly begun with Pranava Omkar, and it requires training to practice. So now, Srimad Bhagavatam is being spoken by Suta Goswami. It's not Shruti, but it's higher, it's highest. It's on the highest platform. Actually speaking, Bhagavatam came first because Krishna spoke 4 verses to Brahma. He got that. Then he became self-realized. Then he began the process of creation. Then from his 4 mouths, the 4 Vedas emanated. And everything else, the science of music and everything came. Bhagavatam is Veda. So Suta Goswami, he was not on the level of that, of the Brahmins, that he could chant and be versed in the Shruti mantras. But he had the knowledge by which they could be self-realized, and they knew that, and they valued that, and they were sitting there and asking him the knowledge. So the Srimad Bhagavatam actually, as we understand, it's Bhashyam Brahma Sutranam. It is the actual commentary on Vedanta. And Jiva Goswami has produced in his one of his writings, he has produced all the sutras of the Vedanta. Vedanta Sutra has 4 chapters. Each chapter is divided into 4. He has written all the sutras and identified where they are in Srimad Bhagavatam. He actually, the verses are here. Ishopanishad is here also. All the verses of Ishopanishad are given, spoken by Swayambhuva Manu in part of in the Bhagavatam. So, the Bhagavad therefore it says in the purport that it does not mean Srimad Bhagavatam is of less importance than Vedic mantras. On the contrary, it is the ripened fruit of all the Vedas. Ripened fruit. In a tree, there are many important parts. In some herbs, they use the roots. They use, that cinnamon masala is from the bark. Then they use the leaves. But everyone will agree the most important part of a tree is the fruit. It contains so much benefits. Okay, of course, unless it's a chandan tree or some other specific. But generally speaking, the fruit contains the most important part of the tree. Therefore now, Vedas are compared to a tree. Nigama kalpataror. It's a desire tree. That whatever I want, I can get from the Vedas. Material knowledge, spiritual knowledge, anything. However, this tree of the Veda, the fruit is Srimad Bhagavatam, the ripened fruit. That the Vedas, whatever they want to give, whatever they want to say, but the final conclusion, the essence is in the fruits, the Srimad Bhagavatam. Previously, there was a set system of varnashram, and people will live their whole life and follow their swadharma and become purified. Then the next birth they may, like that, elevate. But there's no time for that now. The Kali Yuga has started. People are dying very early. There's that pastime in 10th canto when the son of a Brahmana died, and he came to chastise the king, that time Yudhishthira Maharaj. He's saying that how can the son die before the father? This is inauspicious. It means something is wrong with the ruler. Dharma is not being properly followed, or something he's doing wrong. So that's inauspicious. But today it's common, very common. Unfortunately, a lot of inauspicious things happen. From that we can understand, there's no time for previously how we could have set up everything. And therefore, at a very early age, in the beginning, they are studying the essence of what all the Vedas are meant to bring you to the point. It's Srimad Bhagavatam. All the Vedas and cultures and samskars are meant to take you to the point of liberation. But at present moment, the attention span, the time, the intelligence of people, the peace of mind is not there. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada has commented on Bhagavatam, and Bhagavatam is our main text. Practically, if we see, almost every purport has our whole philosophy. In every purport of Bhagavad Gita, almost, you see the beginning of the philosophy, the middle, and the conclusion, and chant Hare Krishna. Why? Because people are so thick that they'll open the book, they'll not want to read anything, just one verse and one purport. But that's enough. Prabhupada said, one verse, one letter they read, they'll get liberated. So now, because of the situation, the topmost knowledge is being given. Where? On the street. It never happened before. It never happened before that Bhagavatam like this, the top, which demigods others did not have access to, is now being sold on the road. Ticket, no, I don't want ticket. We are giving a less price. No, I don't want. Okay, please take it. We are spending our time, energy to force them to take the topmost knowledge. This is nothing short of mercy which we got. This is Mahaprabhu's Gaudiya movement, Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara. So the knowledge of Smriti now, that is one thing, but even Smriti we can't understand without Acharya. We have Mahabharata, we have Bhagavad Gita, which comes in Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavatam, but even this should be accepted through Acharya. Of course, Vedas are all accepted always through Acharya, but someone could have read the Shruti and have a level of language understanding to understand it. But we can't understand what was meant for the lowest. It was supposed to be that Mahabharata and therefore Bhagavad Gita was meant for the lowest class. But now in our ISKCON, we are holding courses going for months to understand Gita. We cannot understand it. What Arjuna understood in 1.5 hours, in one reading, and after him, probably in the beginning, whoever heard would have understood, but we are not able to get it. So our level is very different. So Shruti, at the present moment, it's for us not as important as Smriti. Smriti is more important. Within the Smriti, Srimad Bhagavatam, and not any Srimad Bhagavatam we can just buy. Some people have Bhagavatam, we speak to them. They say we have Bhagavat Puran. We read Bhagavatam, we have it at home, but it should be commented on and translated by someone in the devotional line, parampara. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for devotees. Generally speaking, we don't speak Bhagavatam outside. We speak Bhagavad Gita. In preaching, Gita is spoken. We speak Bhagavad Gita. On the basis of Gita, we argue. Or with other paramparas, we may discuss on Vedanta, or Upanishad, Shruti. Like Madhvacharya wrote Rig Bhashya, establishing personal nature of God through Rig Veda. But when it comes to generally speaking to the people, we speak on the basis of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita takes us, it's in one purport Prabhupada mentions that Srimad Bhagavad Gita, it establishes an intellectual civilization which concludes in spiritual. Now it's a materialistic civilization. So how to develop a thought process based on intellect, actually spiritual intellect, is through Bhagavad Gita. Actually, what people are using intelligence now for material things, that is not a real intelligence. That intelligence is contaminated by modes of nature. But to get a clear spiritual intelligence, we have to study and understand Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita takes us to the platform where our intelligence is pure. That's what happened with Arjun when he heard Bhagavad Gita. Nashta moho smriti labdva. Tat prasadat mayachyuta. Now my illusion is gone. Gata sandeha. My doubts are gone. So Bhagavad Gita establishes a spiritual civilization which it establishes intellectual, which concludes in spiritual. But Srimad Bhagavatam, purely spiritual, purely on the spiritual platform. And so this is important, more important now. This is required. For people to understand and read these texts, what is the qualification? It's simply desire. They have to be sincere to attain the knowledge and have the desire. These two things. And then knowledge can be revealed. It can be revealed gradually. If we desire, from inside Krishna will guide. Actually, the qualification is very high. But in this age of Kali, presently, through the Gaudiya Sampradaya, Mahaprabhu is predominant. We have taken shelter of Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu imparts knowledge, purification, detachment much easier, much faster. The level of mercy is much more. That if you see even one generation before, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he used to speak on a very high level. We still have his writings. He spoke on a high level. And for someone to understand, they had to come up to his level. He'll speak in difficult language, quote verses and difficult concepts. And he'll not even speak. He'll he'll explain, for example, he'll say, contaminated by the principle of aham mameti. And you had to understand what does that mean. He'll just pick one word. And he'll say, for example, andhayatanther. Now you may understand where that's coming from. You understand? Andhayatanther upaniman. He'll quote one phrase or 3-4 words, and you have to understand this is from this verse. This verse is making this principle. Like that. But just one generation later, in age of now Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, his books, Srila Prabhupada is empowered to give the same thing, but in a very simple way. If you read Prabhupada's books, one whole chapter is mentioning one point only. One point, the whole chapter, one lecture is mentioning one point. And like this, he's giving the same knowledge in a very easier way, but he's giving the same knowledge. He's able to deliver it. So, how the population of Kali is decreasing, degenerating more and more, and Krishna is so merciful, he's coming in different ways, sending his representative, that we may also still be able to communicate the message to them. But it's difficult, more and more difficult. Day by day they're decreasing. Tatas chanu dinam, day by day. Satyam shocham kshamadaya kalena balina rajan nangshati ayur balam smritihi. 7 things decreasing every day, every day. Now you can say every day children are born. So every day the children are born will have less dharma, chanudinam dharma, satyam, they'll be less truthful, satyam, shocham, they'll not be so clean, kshama, forgiveness, daya, mercy, ayur, the duration of life will be less, balam, strength will be less, smriti, memory will be less. Every single day, the children being born, they'll be like that. And therefore, our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada's disciples, they order us, do it now. Whatever Prabhupada said, do it now. Don't wait for generations. They will not be able to. Maybe they. Of course, by Mahaprabhu's mercy, anything is possible. But we have to do it now. Now we have to establish Varnashram. Now we have to establish the farm. Not that they'll do it, we'll see, we'll lay the foundation. We have to do it. In future, we don't know what will happen. This is characteristics of age of Kali. So now this Bhagavatam is spoken this time. This is just the beginning of Kali. Krishna had just left. So the verse explained, when Krishna left, then he took dharma and gyan. That's the beginning of Kali Yuga. So the sage is asking Suta. Now they went to Suta Goswami. He was not learned in the Shruti and in all the verses. Previously that was given importance. And previously they were both together. It was expected anybody who will sit on Vyasasana has to be able to say all these things. But it's a different age now. And so Suta Goswami was going to speak. Actually, if you analyze, Suta Goswami was not from one of the higher caste. But he had the knowledge, and that is the value. So they wanted to get that knowledge, even though he did not have that ability. So this is giving that message now that in age of Kali, this emphasis is important. The Parivrajaka, Parivrajaka means traveling preacher. And the Brahmanas, they will not have the same level. But they should endeavor, as much still we have to do that. It's still good to know these things, learn Sanskrit, learn to chant verses, that much we should have it. But emphasis now is give the knowledge. Even Srila Prabhupada wrote in English. Previously, when Ramayana was written in English and in Tamil, when there was a big opposition. In Srirangam, when they were writing that Kamba Ramayana was spoken in Tamil, there was opposition. And Lord Nrsingadev intervened. He had to intervene to say, no, it's okay. You know that Leela, it happened. That Lord Nrsingadev, there was a loud sound when they were discussing whether Kamba Ramayana can be released in Tamil. It's not in Sanskrit. So they heard the sound from Nrsinga temple just nearby because the mandap was just down. They went upstairs and Nrsingadev's hand was up like that. Previously it was not. They took that as a sign that. But also in Hindi, when Ramcharitmanas was released, they said, how can you do this? How can you put words of God in this language? It must be in Sanskrit. Prakrita Bhashya. Knowledge is, the language is coming from Sanskrit. That was a big opposition. Srila Prabhupada put the knowledge in English. As one sadhu, one sannyasi spoke. One sannyasi spoke in a class I attended. They were telling him that, oh Maharaj, he was a new person. That, oh Maharaj, now you're speaking in English, but you know in Hindi it has a special sound, many things. And the knowledge of Veda and Bhakti, it's better in that language and everything. He spoke, and he finished, and that sannyasi who was from South Africa, he said, but Prabhupada wrote in English. That means, whatever knowledge and realization has been put into English first, and now from that it's translated in other languages. And now I'm meeting people who said, okay, let's learn English to read because we don't know what the translation has given. I mean, unfortunately, we understand even the Kannada Bhagavad Gita, people have told us, is not properly translated. And that has delayed the spread of Krishna consciousness. I heard from Kannada devotees, Kannadigas, who are initiated. They said, if we read the Kannada version, it's not properly translated, it's giving Mayavad also. It's teaching. And so this is a big problem. Now this could be one reason movement did not spread so much in Karnataka as it did in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh. So now they want to change it and they're trying, but people are not agreeing, and there's a big problem like this. So this is an issue. But so I'm meeting people who are saying, okay, we're going to now learn English to read the books of Prabhupada. That situation is there. But no doubt, of course, Prabhupada wanted that we learn Sanskrit. He wanted that. He wanted that be the language, national language of India also. Prabhupada wanted that, and no doubt. But the point is that the absolute truth is more important, and the mode of delivery can be in any way, whatever it is. Now it's in this language or that language, Sruti, Smrti. But the most important point is that the knowledge should be spoken, delivered. That's important. So let it be spoken. Now Sutta Goswami is going to speak the Bhagavatam, and they took shelter of him to speak, even though he could not speak, could not know the other portions of the Shruti, which was required for Brahmana. Hare Krishna. Any question?
Sometimes we are pronouncing Sanskrit, they are usually mispronouncing happen always. Means in Bhagavatam,
Loud, you have to speak loud a little.
Means mispronouncing Sanskrit words while reading Bhagavatam, that time also it will affect
Okay.
Means pronouncing slokas, that time we are mispronouncing Sanskrit words.
Yeah.
So you say one example, for killing one person, you mispronounce the chanting words, and it is because in Bhagavatam also we are chanting that slokas, but so many of them are mispronouncing.
Yeah, so the question is that I mentioned that the importance of Sanskrit was so much that you will chant the mantras, but if you chant it wrongly, it won't happen. The desire of the yajna. And they were actually, one of the brahmanas was there simply to hear that the other one is chanting properly. And then they'll do that sacrifice also of killing the animal and then bring it back to life. So that was important because the wrong effect will come out of the yajna if we could not chant properly. So then my question is that, okay, so now we are chanting verses of Bhagavatam and Gita. If we mispronounce, it's not that nothing bad will happen, but it would be pleasing to Krishna if, for example, we are chanting Bhagavad Gita in a proper way. Because when we chant verses of Gita, it has a powerful effect. Just chanting the verses, it has an effect. So, if we chant them properly, it's pleasing to Krishna. I think definitely there will be it will be a benefit. But if you don't, if you just chant, then you will get a benefit also. You're speaking some great words spoken by great personality. They will be a benefit. But we can't say that it will be the same, that someone is pronouncing ooh, ah in a wrong way and it's the same as someone perfectly pronouncing. There definitely will be a difference.
In mispronounced, any issues will happen. In Sanskrit words is most that precise, sometimes it's small word, like Kubera asked, Nitya, like Mitra. So
If you mispronounce, it's not a bad thing, nothing bad will happen, but it will be pleasing to Parampara and to Krishna, because you see, if I'm speaking to you now and I'm speaking, but I'm not speaking the English I'm speaking in certain way, it's hard for you to understand. It's not the same as someone who is speaking properly. If someone is able to chant, like Krishna spoke some words, and you exactly speak his words and repeat it. But if you don't, you mispronounce, it's not the same thing. It's not bad, but we won't get the same result. It won't be as pleasing. Did I answer your question? Yeah.
You mentioned that there's Veda mantras to be chanted by Dvijas. So how about when we are speaking to someone to convince them about Krishna consciousness, about quoting Sruti, like suppose Upanishads we proper quoted. What about that? Can we do that or not? In the purports of Bhagavad Gita many times so many.
Quoting, yeah, we quote it, but because the mantras, you see, like previously, someone is studying Rig Veda, they'll chant, others could not chant. Then they'll take initiation through that line, or even if there's another Veda, but they took Vedic Diksha properly, and Vedic Brahmanas qualified, they'll chant it, and it's given to them through their Guru, then it'll have effect. For us, if you're just chanting something, if it's not coming in that line, like some, we say Gayatri mantra, that is there. But if it's not given by Guru, then it's not going to have effect. And regarding chanting, saying it, we are chanting because our Guru, Srila Prabhupada, put that mantra and we are chanting it. And on authority of Prabhupada, who took shelter of him, then we can do it. What Prabhupada did, and we follow, we say, then that's okay.
It's like somewhat similar to this question, like if someone who is not so much like following a sattvic life and he's gradually coming to that point, but he's not there, so then if he is quoting these verses, is it like kind of like blasphemous or offensive in some way?
It's mentioned even for Mahamantra. If you read in the songbook, Prabhupada's translation, he said as far as possible, even Mahamantra should be chanted from lips of a pure devotee. If there's an assembly of people and the highest, most advanced person chants, they get some benefit. But if someone else, there's some difference. It's not the same. So you're saying the Shruti mantras.
Are we offending?
Are we offending? If Srila Prabhupada chanted and we are chanting to quote and for that purpose, I don't think it's an offense. Prabhupada's quoting Nityo Nityanam, Chaitanya Chaitananam, that from Kathopanishad, we are also chanting it. And for the purpose of what, through our Guru in the line with authority of Prabhupada, we are chanting. It's in the books.
What about some verses preceding or verses after that? Which
after that, Kathopanishad chanting of Upanishad, actually whole Ishopanishad was chanted in Prabhupada's time by, I think, Yamuna Mataji. That would not have been done previously. Actually, many things we are doing now is not, for example, we are putting tilak, that should not be done till after Diksha. Tapan, Urdhva Pundra. We are not meant to. But we are doing it, and I can't understand about that. And we are following now what we are taught. But a lot of things, there could be some explanations for this which I don't know. And so your question, whether we can chant all other parts of the Upanishads. But we are not ordered. No, our Srila Prabhupada told us to do, we are doing that. He taught us to read certain books, we are reading that, we are doing it. Now someone has finished all that, is well versed, and now he's starting to read other books on authority of Prabhupada, because Prabhupada said we should read other commentaries on Bhagavatam. Did he say Upanishads? Maybe he might have said. Okay, answer is I don't know. I don't know.
My thing was not studying or chanting on our own.
Chanting.
Quoting
We can quote.
Trying to convince someone about Krishna consciousness.
Prabhupada quoted verses from, we are quoting the same verses. That's okay. Other verses? I don't know. I think it's okay now. There were many rules previously, but what I'm saying, I'm seeing things we are not following even now in Gaudiya Sampradaya. So many rules which applied before are not there. So to establish Bhagavad Dharma and Sanatana Dharma, we are quoting verses like that. I think it's okay. But don't take my answer as absolute. Find out from someone else. Whether we can chant Shruti or not. Find out. I don't know. Because I'm just following what Prabhupada said. Honestly speaking, we'll not understand a lot of them. We'll not be able to read. Only what previous acharyas already quoted, we quote that. Okay, that's the answer. Okay, try to find out whether we can do that or not. I don't know. Okay, any other question? Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.